From flop to phenomenon, Antony's transformation at Real Betis has been nothing short of unbelievable. Written off at Manchester United, ridiculed by fans, and turned into a meme, he looked destined for a career downfall. But now, he's suddenly one of the most informed players in La Liga. So what changed? Did Antony truly evolve as a player, or is Man United just cursed? Stick around as we break down one of the biggest football turnarounds of the season. And before we dive in, if you love football content like this, make sure to subscribe to The Athletic Journal, turn on notifications, and hit the like button. It helps us bring you more amazing content. At the start of the 2024-25 season, Antony endured a dismal run of form. Across 8 Premier League matches, he failed to register a single goal or assist. His struggles extended to the Europa League, where he went 4 games without a contribution. In total, across 14 appearances, his only goal for Manchester United came in an EFL Cup match against Barnsley. This slump followed what was already the worst season of Antony's career at United. In the previous campaign, he went 30 Premier League games without a single goal contribution, finally breaking the drought in matchday 31. His first league goal didn't come until matchday 35 against 19th-placed Burnley, considering United spent a staggering €95 million on him, making him the 11th most expensive player in Premier League history. His performances were widely criticized. The only time he truly justified his price tag was in the FA Cup quarter-final against Liverpool, where his equalizer helped set up United's FA Cup triumph. But beyond that, Antony became a punchline in the football world. Over time, he turned into a meme, with fans joking about his 365-day wait for a goal, or ironically calling him the GOAT. It was all in good fun. After all, Antony's flair and personality make him a fan favorite. But on a professional level, his career seemed to be crumbling. At this rate, it looked unlikely that any top club would take a chance on him again. Then, just when it seemed like he had hit rock bottom, Antony flipped the script. Within a matter of weeks, he went from being the most ridiculed player in football to one of the most informed players on the planet. Unbelievable, right? More goals and assists in 2025 than R9, Ronaldinho, and Zidane combined. Okay, maybe not quite. But seriously, what caused this transformation? How did Antony go from football's laughingstock to a key player pushing his team toward a Champions League spot? Let's rewind for some context. In the January transfer window, Manchester United, for very obvious reasons, decided to send Antony out on loan to Real Betis. Ironically, he's now playing under former Man City manager Manuel Pellegrini. When the deal was announced, fans joked that Antony was about to show La Liga's biggest stars who the real boss was. At the time, it was just a joke, but fast forward a few months and nobody's laughing anymore. But who would have thought that a viral meme would actually turn into reality? Because what's truly insane is that in his first 3 La Liga games, Antony has already picked up 3 Man of the Match awards. And at the time of making this video, since arriving in Spain, Antony has recorded twice as many goal contributions as Vinícius Jr. Let that sink in. That's not just surprising, it's absolutely mind-blowing. Now, there's a new term floating around the internet, the Antony Effect. It seems like his mere presence at Real Betis has sparked a dramatic turnaround for the club, completely shifting their form and pushing them up the La Liga table. It's almost as if Antony has breathed new life into the team, transforming them from mid-table mediocrity to European contenders overnight. Before his arrival, Real Betis was stuck in 12th place. But since Antony stepped onto the pitch, they've climbed all the way to 6th, boasting a perfect record of 5 straight wins. In fact, the only other team in La Liga with such dominant form is Barcelona. To put things into perspective, since Antony joined Real Betis, they've only lost once. At this rate, Antony might just be the most valuable player in La Liga over the past 2 months. If his impact continues, Betis could shock everyone by securing a Champions League or Europa League spot by the end of the season. The only thing keeping them from overtaking 5th-placed Villarreal right now is a single goal difference. But the real question is, what changed? How did a Premier League outcast suddenly turn into a La Liga sensation? Did Antony finally evolve as a player, or was Manchester United simply cursed? Back at United, one of Antony's biggest weaknesses was how he often slowed the game down, relying on static dribbling rather than using his pace efficiently to beat defenders. This made his movements predictable, allowing defenders to easily shut him down. So, has he adjusted his play style at Betis? Well, for starters, he hasn't attempted his signature ball spin or any of the over-the-top tricks he was known for in England. You could say he's dialed back on the unnecessary flair, focusing instead on being more effective and productive. He's moving the ball quicker, keeping it simple, and playing with more urgency. But outside of that small but impactful shift, Antony hasn't really changed much about his game. He's still the left-footed winger we know, heavily favoring his strong side. This habit used to slow him down at United, giving defenders just enough time to react when he tried to cut in. However, in his goal against Celta Vigo in February, he deliberately shifted the ball to his left foot before striking, showcasing a level of confidence and decisiveness that was missing before. And when it comes to his signature cut-ins, they're still very much part of his game. In fact, that's exactly how he set up Isco's goal in the win against Getafe. Antony received the ball, cut inside, and delivered the perfect assist, just like he always intended to. So yeah, Antony hasn't really changed his game much. He's still doing what he's always done throughout his career. The only difference? He looks way more composed and confident in a Real Betis jersey. But what exactly triggered this sudden transformation? Well, after analyzing his resurgence, it seems that Antony's success in Spain has little to do with his skills on the pitch or even Manuel Pellegrini's tactics. Instead, it might just come down to something as simple as his environment. When the GOAT himself was asked about the reason behind his improved form, he didn't blame the Premier League's difficulty or suggest that La Liga is easier. Instead, he said something completely unexpected. The sunny climate in Spain has made a huge difference. Apparently, Antony isn't a big fan of cold weather or the gloomy atmosphere of the UK. He even admitted that he feels happier in Seville compared to his time in Manchester, and that happiness is reflecting in his performances. And honestly, this isn't the first time we've seen this happen in football, especially with South American players. Brazilian legends like Neymar, Ronaldo, R9, and Ronaldinho have all been vocal about their lack of interest in the Premier League. They felt that the English lifestyle, food, and weather were too different from what they enjoyed in Brazil or Spain. A prime example is Angel Di Maria. When he moved to Manchester United in 2014, his form collapsed almost instantly. And while there were many reasons for his failure, it later came out that he absolutely hated life in England, from the weather to the overall vibe of the city. Now, looking at it from a club's perspective, player adaptation should be a key priority before signing someone. But that didn't seem to be a factor when United went after Antony. Erik ten Hag was desperate to bring him in. But funnily enough, the player Ten Hag originally wanted wasn't Antony, it was actually Frenkie de Jong. And guess what? De Jong straight up refused to join United. He was open to leaving Barcelona at the time, but when it came to moving to Manchester, he shut it down. And one of his biggest reasons? The English weather. Now, some of you might argue, wait a second, Antony played in the Netherlands, and it's not exactly warm and sunny there either. Fair point. But hey, who are we to doubt the GOAT when he's been performing at this level? And considering that Antony's overall playing style hasn't changed much, aside from cutting out the needless showboating, this whole situation suggests that his struggles at United were mostly mental. However, Ruben Amorim has a different theory. He believes that Antony struggled in England because of the Premier League's intense physicality and speed. And there's definitely some truth to that. Antony isn't the strongest or fastest player, which made it tough to compete against elite defenders like Virgil van Dijk or William Saliba. But if that's the case, then it's totally fine. At the end of the day, some players just thrive better in certain environments and under different structures. But there's also another theory behind Antony's revival, the fundamental problem at Manchester United itself. Let's be real, Manchester United might just be cursed. Since Sir Alex Ferguson's departure, the club has thrown around £1.6 billion into the transfer market, yet they've come nowhere close to returning to their former glory. It's been one disappointing transfer after another, making you wonder, is it a scouting issue, a flawed club philosophy, or just plain bad luck? And it certainly doesn't help that the club's ownership and management are constantly changing, creating chaos behind the scenes. With a structure like that, it's no surprise that so many players struggle at United, only to flourish once they leave. Just look at Scott McTominay and David De Gea, both rejected by United, yet doing just fine in Italy. Sometimes, all a player needs is a fresh start. We've seen this story before. Mohamed Salah and Kevin De Bruyne were written off as flops at Chelsea. Now, they've cemented themselves among the greatest players in Premier League history. Martin Odegaard couldn't quite find his place at Real Madrid, but Arsenal gave him the perfect platform to shine, and now he's one of the best midfielders in the world. Hitting rock bottom is part of football, but what truly defines a player is their ability to fight back when the world has counted them out. And that's why Antony deserves his flowers. A few months ago, it looked like he was on his way to Saudi Arabia or back to Brazil. But instead, he's flipping the script, proving everyone wrong, and showing the world that maybe, just maybe, he was never the problem. Well, aside from the spinning. So what do you think? Is Antony's resurgence real? Was he unfairly judged at United? Or is Manchester United simply doomed to fail no matter who they sign? Drop your thoughts in the comments.